In this video, I want to provide you with a demonstration on how to begin setting up your sheets for Project 8.1 Model Miniature Train. This, of course, is what your cover page should look like. Project 8.1 Model Miniature Train, your name, the class name, Introduction to Engineering Design, and the school name, Aiken High School. This is the train body sheet, and so there are a couple items that I want to show you that are unique about creating this sheet. This will be the sheet that I will use as an example for creating all the other sheets. I will show you how to create this sheet, apply all the dimensions for this sheet, but I will not be showing you how to set up all the other sheets. So this will be the main focal point of this demonstration. But I do want to go ahead and show you what the rest of the sheets should look like. This is the sheet for the stack. Notice that the top view has a full regular top view with a section cut through the middle in a horizontal fashion, and the front view serves as also a section view. So you would apply the dimensions as you see on the screen. Notice right here I have the scale for each of the sheets. We'll talk more about that when we do the train body, but the scale for this sheet is 1.5:1 unless noted otherwise. This is the sheet for the hitch magnet, and it's pretty straightforward, and you'll notice that the scale is 4:1, which means this had to be magnified a great deal for it to be big enough for us to apply some dimensions to. This is the sheet for the hitch peg. The scale for this sheet is 4:1 unless noted otherwise. This is the sheet for the wheel, and so you'll probably spend a lot of time on this sheet trying to get it just right. And so many of the steps that I will show you to take for creating the train body will also be used to create the wheel as well. Notice that the wheel, this is the primary front view of the wheel with a section cut of a left view, which is the section view. There is a detail C that is really a blow up of this wheel, this little peg, so that we can apply these dimensions appropriately. We also have a top view, which is a regular top view that shows the hidden lines. This is the sheet for the axle peg. Notice that the scale is 3:1. And so it's pretty straightforward. There's no tricks here. This is the sheet for the linkage arm. It is a scale of 2:1. And so there is a break in this. And so this is a really long part that would be really hard to fit onto the sheet. So if you'll use the break view, it will break this front view for you. You'll also have to create a break view of, after you place the top view, you'll also have to break this one as well. I want to go back to this sheet right here. There are a couple notes that you may have to type in manually. This was one that I typed in manually here. So I placed text and I added a leader to it. And I believe I used the text here to type this note in for the hex part of the axle peg. So let's go back to the sheet for the linkage peg. The scale for the linkage peg is 6:1. It's pretty straightforward and there are no tricks here. This is the sheet for the cow catcher. Obviously, as you can see, it is a lot of different views, but it's really not as bad as it may appear to be. There's actually not a whole lot of dimensions. So we have a primary front view. We have the top view. And so notice that those two views, the front and the top, have dimensions added to them. There is a right side view, which really has nothing added to it. There is a rear view of the cow catcher, which is used really just to dimension the pegs that are on the back of the cow catcher. And so these dimensions actually help locate and size the pegs appropriately. There is a bottom view of the cow catcher, which is really needed just to show the thickness of the wall itself, to show how thick this cow catcher is. Notice that there is a note here that says Some hidden lines have been omitted for clarity. So there are some views that I chose not to show hidden lines because there would have been so much lines in some of these views. It would have been really hard to identify what I was dimensioning to. So for example, I did not turn on the hidden lines for this rear view because I wanted the focal point of this view to be the pegs on the back of the cow catcher. The front view I turned off just because I wanted the overall shape of the cow catcher to really be the focal point. And so you can see I did show some hidden lines in the top view. Notice the scale is 1.5:1, and so that's the sheet for the cow catcher. The last sheet is the explosion sheet, and this has obviously the explosion view that you would have created with a balloon or a number for each of the parts. One unique thing about this sheet is that when I placed the numbers on these parts, all of these worked really good until I got to the wheel. I could not choose. I wanted to choose this edge of the wheel, but I could not choose it. It would not put the number in this bubble for some reason. So I had to choose an actual edge of the wheel, the interior part of the wheel. So make sure you do the same thing. You'll notice a parts list on this sheet, and notice that the scale for this sheet, for the explosion sheet, is 1:1.5. So I'm going to go back to the train body because, again, this is going to be the focal point of this demonstration. Notice that there is a note that says round all edges, radius of 0.1 except for drill holes. If you'll look at the isometric view, you'll notice that you see the round edges, but in the actual views themselves, you do not see the round edges. I will explain that when we get into the demonstration part of this sheet, but mainly the reason why we don't show the fillets for the edges for the train body in the multi-view is simply because it makes it much harder to apply dimensions. Here we get nice, sharp, crisp corners where we can dimension to, and I think it makes it pretty clear what we're actually dimensioning to. Notice it also says that hidden lines have been omitted for clarity. Again, there are some hidden lines that have been just hidden just because I think it makes it a little bit more confusing. For example, there are no hidden lines in the top view. You would have normally seen the hidden lines for the holes here and the holes in the little slot right here. And so I've omitted those just to show the clarity of the dimensions of this part for the hole for the stack. I've also omitted the hidden lines in this, what we call the rear view, and also the left side view, again, because of the purpose of those views and what I'm trying to dimension in those views. I intentionally turned off the hidden lines for those views. That is an exception. You should not do that just when you feel like it. It has to have a very specific reason why you would not want to show the hidden lines. And so now that I've kind of gone through all of the sheets and showed you what they should look like, now let's look at a demonstration on how to begin creating your sheets for this project. For this demonstration, I'm going to simply show you how to create the sheets and how to set up the sheet for the train body, apply the dimensions. There are some very unique things that we need to do for that sheet, and pretty much for all the other sheets, if you can watch this demonstration for the train body, I believe it will help you create the sheets for the other parts of the train. But also there's just some unique things that we need to do here. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the Insert New Element button here, this little plus sign, and we're going to hit that button and we're going to create a drawing. It's going to ask you to choose a template for your border. I'm going to choose, as I always do, the AHS PLTW border. If you do not see it, you can select My Own Shape. Hopefully you do have that template added to your account. If you do not, I will try to remember to post this to the project so you can get this template. You would download it to your computer and import it into your Own Shape account, and then once you do that, you can choose My Own Shape and you should see this template file. So I'm going to choose the AHS PLTW border and I'm going to click OK. Once this sheet is fully loaded, you'll notice that it will automatically go to the first step of inserting a view. I'm going to stop that process. I don't want to insert a view right now, so I'm going to close that. I want to open up this panel right here, which is for the sheets, so that I can see my list. Think of this sort of like a PowerPoint. All your sheets should be in this one drawing. So you will have 11 sheets listed here when it is all said and done. So before we go any further, there are a couple things that we need to do before we really dive in and add in this sheet here, or the train body part. So the first thing is, notice that the drawing that we created is called Drawing 1. I'm going to right click on that tab and I want to choose Rename, and I want to rename this Project 8.1 Model Miniature Train. The reason why I'm doing that is because that will be the title that will appear right here. So once I click somewhere, it will put in the title of the project for this sheet and any other sheet that we create from this point forward. Before we insert the train body into this sheet, I need you to fix the precision of your dimensions. On the far right of your screen, you will see the tab here called Drawing Properties. Open that tab up and you will see that the precision currently of all your units is set to 3 decimal places. The majority of the dimensions that you will place on this project for all your sheets will only need to be at 2 decimal places. So change it to 2 decimal places for your precision. There are dimensions that will be added that need to be at 3 decimal places, and some that even need to be at 4 decimal places. But again, the majority of the dimensions that you apply for this project will only need to be at 2 decimal places. Let's go ahead and change the precision to 2 decimal places as well. You'll notice below that is the angular precision. That is the decimal points for any angle dimensions that you apply to your project. We're going to change that to 0, so we want our angles to be whole numbers. So for example, if we apply a dimension that needs to, an angular dimension that needs to say 45 degrees, we don't want that to appear as 45.0 degrees. We just want 45 degrees. So changing that to 0 means that the angular precision for that dimension will be a whole number. So once you do that, just close the drawing properties. So this is my Project 8.1 Model Miniature Train demonstration file. This is the file that I've been using to work through this myself. You'll notice just how I've kind of organized this. There are some things I'm going to talk about this sheet. That's why I wanted to pull this up. But there is a cover page, and so I've actually saved the cover page for last. But I created the train body, then I did all those all the way through, and then I did the cover page, and then I slid it back up. But as I worked through this, I renamed these sheets. So for example, when you create your first sheet, it will be sheet 1, and it will have no name. I would recommend that you rename these as you go along, and I will try to remember to do that in this demonstration. But when you first get started, it'll be sheet 1. You'll want to rename that and call it sheet 2, parentheses, train body. That way, if you ever need to go back, you won't have to think, what sheet number do I need to go to work on the wheel? And so you can just double click on it a lot easier. So what I want to quickly show you is just a couple things about this. First of all, you'll notice that again, we're going to pull in the train body that does not have the fillets or the rounded edges. And so that one is going to, those views are going to come in first, and we're going to put that at a scale of 1:1.5. If you look up here, the isometric actually has the rounded edges. So we're going to use the isometric from the train body that has the rounded edges to use as our isometric. If you'll notice, the isometric for the train body is a little bit smaller than the views for the train body itself. So these 4 views here are at a scale of 1:1.5, and the isometric for the train body is at 2:1. So that's 2 to 1. So it's It's a little bit smaller, and it's smaller simply because I needed space to be able to put this on here. So you'll see me do that in the demonstration as I actually create this sheet in this demonstration. I'm back in the file that I want to use to show you how to create this sheet. So the first thing I would have you do before you even pull in the train body is go ahead and rename this sheet. So I'm going to right click on this sheet name right here. I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it sheet. This will become sheet 2, and then I'm going to put in parentheses train body. That way I can easily identify what sheet I am looking for when I begin to have a long list of sheets there. So I'm going to hit the green check mark, and that is accepted. And now we're ready to work with the train body. Before we insert the train body into this sheet, we need to make a duplicated copy of our train body and remove the fillets from the train body. So I'm going to go to the train body part. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to right click on this train body, and I'm going to choose duplicate. Once you do that, you're going to want to rename this one train body copy 1. We're going to right click and rename it. We're going to take out the copy 1, and we're just going to put in parentheses no fillets. And then, actually, we'll just say with no fillets. And we'll just click right there. Now, notice that when I renamed it, I'm not currently in that file. So you do not want to delete your fillets unless you're in the one that actually says with no fillets. You need to be very sure that before you delete the fillets, you're deleting them from the right one. The reason for that is this train body with the fillets has already been used in your assembly, and you do not want to mess that file up because it will mess up your assembly, and that takes a couple extra steps to get that issue resolved. So make sure you go to your train body with no fillets. This is a totally new separate part, and this is the one that we want to delete the fillets in. So we're going to scroll down where the features for this object are located. And so you'll see fillet 1 through 6. Select your first fillet, hold down shift on your keyboard and choose the last fillet. And then just simply hit delete on your keyboard. Now you have a train body with no fillets so that we can pull it into the sheet and begin creating our multi-views and the isometric for the train body. I am back on my sheets, and now I want to insert the train body. Before I do that, I want to open up the Sheets tab here so that I can see this full panel of all my sheets. I always like to leave that open to make sure I'm on the right sheet before I actually do something. I think that's just good practice. Now I'm ready to insert the train body. You simply go to Insert View, and then you'll need to choose Insert. And then you'll see a panel that'll have all your parts that are a part of this project listed. You'll want to choose the one that says train body with no fillets. And then you'll simply choose the image just below that title. Once you do that, you'll see a preview of the view that you're getting ready to place. Notice that the view orientation is set to front. Now this actually is not what I want for the front view of my train body. And so this is the front of the train, but it's not the front view that I want to show for my train body. Because I have some weird projections that I need to do for this multi-view. So I'm going to simply change the view orientation to right. And then you'll see this is the front view that I want for my train body. Now before I place it, I want to go ahead and fix the scale. The scale for this is 1:1.5. So I'm going to come down here, and actually I'm just going to type at the very end of this scale here, and I'm going to type in 0.5, and I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to ensure that the scale actually reduces the view that I'm getting ready to place. So this is my front view, and I'm going to go ahead and place this front view. Next, it's ready for me to project my top view. So I'm going to go ahead and project that. I'm going to come back down here and click on the front view and project this rear of the train body, which is actually my, based on how this is set up, the right view. And then I'm going to click on the front of this side of the train body, the front edge, which is the left of this view. And then I'm going to place this view just about right here. We have a lot of dimensions to add to this, and we need a lot of space here, so we may need to adjust these views a little bit later. Now I'm ready to pull in an isometric, so I'm simply going to go back to Insert View, and I'm going to choose this time this Insert button, and then I'm going to choose just Train Body. And then I'm going to choose this image, or this little area right here. I don't want to pull in a front view. I want to actually pull in the isometric for the train body. My scale for this isometric needs to be 1:2, so I'm just going to hit the drop down option next to view scale, and I'm going to find 1:2, so it should make it a lot smaller, and then I will place it right about there. And so then I can actually slide some things around, make a little bit of room for this sheet or for this view. So I really don't need this. So I'm going to show you, you can just simply click on it and delete it, but I'm going to open this back up and show you that it's something you can turn off before you even place it. This is where the label appears, where it turns it on. So I'm just going to uncheck that and hit the green check mark to accept that. I'm going to right click on this isometric view and choose Show Shaded View. Next, the only view for the train body that I want to show hidden lines is this front view. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on this view, and then I'm going to choose Show Hidden Lines. Now, before we actually begin dimensioning, we need to apply some center lines. So the center line feature is a little bit unique in and of itself, but you will find that if you place the center lines correctly, it will help your dimensions, the application of your dimension a lot easier. So the center line tool that we're going to use is the 2-point center line. That's the one that I like to use the most. It seems to be the easiest and gives me exactly what I need. So I'm just going to start in the top view. So I have a center line for this that I need. So the way that this 2-point center line works is you want to choose one side or one quadrant of this circle and then the opposite quadrant, and it will place the center line. We need to do the vertical one, so we're going to choose the top quadrant of this circle and then the bottom quadrant of this circle. Now that gives me a center line so that I can easily dimension the location of the hole for the stack. Next, I'm going to go down to the front view, and I have a center line for the hole here that goes into the cylinder part of the train body. I'm just going to choose this point, and I'm going to come up and choose somewhere around there just to give me, actually I have to choose this point right here, and that'll give me a point there. I'm going to come down to these holes, and I'm going to choose this quadrant of the hole, and then the opposite one. And then I'm going to do the same thing here and here. I'm going to go all the way over here and choose this one. It doesn't matter if you do the horizontal center line or the vertical first. So these two are actually lined up together. So I want to make sure the viewer knows that these are lined up. So I'm going to choose this point. Actually, what I might do is I'm going to delete these, and I'm going to do one long one. So I'll just go from this quadrant all the way to this back one on this side, and then that'll give me one long center line. And that way I can let the person know who's reading these drawings that these are at the same distance from the very bottom edge of the train body. So now I need to add a center mark or center line from this point straight over to this back edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Actually, I'm going to use a different one that's not sticking out a little bit far. So I'm going to use this one right here. So edge to edge center line. So I'm going to choose this edge and then this edge, and it will give me one there, and then this one to this one, and that way it sticks out a little bit further. I think that's what I want to do with this one. That one, I'm not really pleased with that one, so I'm going to use edge to edge, which will give me a center line between these two lines. And then I'm going to use the same one down here. Now I'm going to place a 2-point center line at the very top of this little half circle right here, all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to choose, let's see, just like that. And that'll give me a nice edge to dimension to. I believe that's all the center lines that I need for this view. I'm going to go to this hole in the back, and I'm going to use the 2-point center mark or center line and place this center line here and here. And again, you'll be doing this for all the other parts. So anywhere you see a hole or something cylindrical, you're going to want to make sure that you add the center marks. That'll be something I'll be looking for. So I'm going to go to these holes here and place these center lines. So the last mark I need to show, or actually there's 2 more marks I need to show, and they're really not that important. So I don't need big, huge center marks or center lines for that. So I'm just going to use this one called center mark, and I'm just going to choose this circle part of the train body, and then I'm going to choose this arc, and it's giving me 2 marks. Now I'm ready to start applying some dimensions. So let's just start with the top view. So that's the one that has the least amount. So I'm simply going to go to dimension. I'm going to go ahead and locate the vertical direction or the vertical location of the center of this hole. So I'm going to choose this corner and then choose this endpoint of the center mark, and then I'm going to place this dimension. Next, I'm going to do the horizontal direction, and I'm going to choose this corner, and then I'm going to choose this point of the center line, and then I'm going to place that dimension. Now this dimension should read 0.875. So I need to change the precision of this manually. So I'm going to choose, just click on it, or even after you place it, you can do this. So I'm going to click that little button that I just clicked there, and I'm going to choose 3 decimal places. And then I have those dimensions ready. So I need to do the dimension for the hole. So I'm going to go to dimension. I'm going to choose the hole, and I'm going to pull my dimension out. Now, we need to show the depth of this. So this is where it gets a little bit unique, a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this button right here so that this box appears. So you'll notice that this dimension, the diameter, 0.5 diameter of this hole, we need to edit this to add something. So the way that this box works is this is where the diameter symbol goes. This is the dimension, the actual dimension of it, 0.5. We have a box right here where we can actually add some things, but we don't want to use this box to add another symbol or another dimension. We'll do that on other dimensions, but not on this one. But we do have this little space right here. So I'm going to click in this space right here, and I'm going to choose the symbol, and I'm going to choose the drop-down option and choose the depth symbol. Next, I'm going to place the actual dimension for that depth, which is 0.25. And then I'm just going to click outside that box to accept that. So now we have a diameter hole, which is 0.5, and the depth of that hole is 0.25. Now let's go ahead and do this view right here. Again, I'm going to start with this one and work my way this way, simply because I have a lot of dimensions to add here, and I'm going to need some space. So it may need to happen that I need to slide some of these views over to make room. So I'm going to simply come here, I'm going to go to dimension, I'm going to choose this bottom edge here, then this center mark. This is the vertical location for this hole, and I'm going to choose it right here, and then I'm going to change the precision of that dimension to 3 decimal places. And next I'm going to do the horizontal location of this hole. Next, I'm going to do the dimension for this hole. And this one's going to require me to do work kind of unique here. So again, I'm going to place the depth symbol, and then I'm going to place the dimension for that depth, which is 0.5. All that was in the tutorial, so for the other parts, you may have to look at the tutorial to know what the depth of some of your holes are. And then I'm just going to click outside that box. And then I'm going to add a dimension for the arc. Place it just like that. Next, I'm ready to move on to the other views. So I'm going to locate the center of this part right here. So I'm going to choose the bottom edge and then this center mark here and place that dimension as close as I can to the train body, because I may need that space right there. And then I'm going to place a dimension from this point to this point, and then I will place it just about right there. Next, I need to give the radius of this little arc right here, this half circle. Next, I'm ready to dimension the center from center to center hole here. So I'm just going to choose this center mark, or this center line, and this center line, and then place this dimension right there. I'm going to go ahead and place from this endpoint to this corner, I'm going to place a dimension right there. And notice there was a purple little line that helps me align up my dimensions. You need to make sure that your dimensions become neat, and those little guides help you do that. So next I'm going to do the overall length of the train body. So from the front edge to the back edge, and then I will place that dimension right about there. Next, I need to do the vertical location for these holes. So I'm going to choose this point and then this end point here and pull that dimension out just like that. And I believe I have all the dimensions for that one. Now I'm ready to do this one. This one's going to be a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the ones that are really straightforward and easy, so that I can move around when I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and go to dimension. I'm going to choose this arc. I'm going to, actually not that, I already applied that one. That would be a duplicated dimension. So, but I do want to apply it here. And this is going to be 0.75 radius. I'm going to go ahead and dimension this little hole right here. And all three of these holes have the same dimension. So we're going to place it something like this. And then we're going to go ahead and edit that dimension. And we're going to change the precision to 3 decimal places. We need to also insert another line and put the depth of those holes. So we're going to put the depth symbol and then put the actual dimension, which is 0.125. And then I'm going to click outside that box. Actually, I need to go ahead and put typical. So I'm going to put enter and then parentheses TYP for typical. That means all of those holes will have the same information. So now I need to, I see I need to apply a dimension on the left side here for this hole. So from this point over to here, I'm going to apply a dimension straight up. So I'm just going to place it incorrectly, and then I will fix the precision of it to 3 decimal places. And then I'm going to click on that text and then move that number out. So it needs to be something like that. So now I see, so I'm going to actually double click on that dimension, and I'm going to add typical at the bottom of that one as well, because this is the same dimension for the hole on the opposite side of this view here. So I want the person to know what this means is 0.375 is from this edge to the center line, the horizontal center location for this hole, but it also applies for this side as well. That's what typical means. Next, I need to start applying some more dimensions, and so I'm going to go ahead and try to slide over as much as I can because I'm going to need as much space here. I'm going to go ahead and take this view here and just slide it as far as I can over, and then I might take this front view and go ahead and slide it over, and I could slide some of this back when I'm done. So now I'm going to place these dimensions here. So I'm going to go to dimension, and then I'm going to go from center mark here to this center mark and place it right about there. Next, I'm going to give the overall dimension for this front of the train and place it right about there. And this is where it's going to get kind of messy. So first I need to apply a dimension from Let's do this one first. So we're going to choose this point and this point. This is going to be 0.5. So I'm just going to place it. And then what I'm going to do is click on it and drag the text up. And it needs to be pretty high because I got some other stuff to put there. And notice that I want to pull it out far enough where these two arrowheads do not touch each other. Next, I need to go to dimension, and I need to choose from this corner here to this center mark here. And then I'm going to pull it down something kind of like that. And this is going to be 3 decimal places. And I will click there. So now I'm getting to where I'm going to have to actually pull some of this, the front, let's pull this up, which will pull all of those up. So I'm going to need, believe it or not, I'm going to need this space right here. So I'm going to do it something like this. And then I'm going to place a dimension from this edge to this edge of the train body, which is going to be 0.875. So I need to change the precision to 3 decimal places. Click outside that box. And then I have one more that I need to add. And I may even move this 0.875, but I'll go ahead and add my last dimension. I need to locate the center of this. So from this bottom edge to this center point, I have this dimension right here. It's going to be 1.375. So I need to change the precision to 3 decimal places. I'm just going to click. And I'm going to click on this text. I'm going to drag it out. And I'm going to take this text. I'm going to drag it down somewhere below here. I may need to pull these views up just a little bit more. Let's take this isometric. So this is why I wanted to show how to do this, because you need all the space you can get to do this. So then we're going to pull this front view up. This gives me a little bit more space here, and then I can do that, and then I can pull that back over like that. So there are, I think, all the dimensions that we need. I would have you check for all of your sheets. Check the example that I have made available in the tutorial so you can see what dimensions you need to apply, and make sure that all the dimensions have been added correctly. The last thing we need to do is add a couple notes. So we're going to go to text, and we're just going to click somewhere up in this corner. Leave your caps lock on. Anytime you place text on technical drawings, you need to use all caps. So I'm going to type note, and I'm going to go ahead and expand this note. And I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to say round all edges, radius 0.1, and I'm going to go ahead and stretch that out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to hit enter, except for drilled holes. You can put a period, you can not put a period, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to hit the green check mark. So we got that note. I'm going to place another note below that one. And again, I'm going to say note. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to say hidden lines have been omitted for clarity. Again, you can add a period or not add a period, but I'm going to hit the green check mark. And so now we have this entire sheet made. And so when you're ready to create another sheet, you would simply just come over here. So I'm going to collapse this so we don't see too much. But you would hit a new sheet, insert sheet button right here, and it will automatically pick up the last number that you used. This one will be, I believe, the stack. So you would want to rename that. Right click on it, rename, and then change it to sheet 3 parentheses stack, and then hit the green check mark. And then you would pretty much follow the same steps. Create section views when you need to create a section view. Add the center lines as you are supposed to, apply the dimensions as you are supposed to. When you get done with all of that, you're going to want to add a cover page, and I'll show you how to do that in just a few seconds. But make sure you look at the examples when creating your different views, cutting your section views. The wheel will take a lot of time, but it's not really hard, but you need to make sure you cut that section view for the wheel in the right place. But make sure you look at the example that I have provided for you in the tutorial. So the last thing I want to do is show you how to create a cover page. So let's just assume that we have created all of our sheets. Everything is done. So I'm going to hit this plus mark, insert sheet. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it cover, and I'm going to hit the green check mark. I'm going to slide this text up, or this sheet up to the very front. Very similar to what you do. So you just click and hold down, and you'll see that little line, and that'll let you know where that sheet is going to be inserted. So I'm going to click on it, move it up just like that. Now we need to delete the title block for the cover page. So if you'll come down to the title block and just right click on it and choose delete, it will remove the title block for you. Then you simply go to the text or note tool, and then what I like to do is place it in this top left hand corner. And then once you do that, you'll want to make sure it may come in more like this, really small, but you'll want to stretch this all the way across the cover page. Make sure that the little gap on the left right here equals about the little gap over there. That means it'll be about centered. You want to go ahead and set the size of your font to 0.5. Set right here the horizontal alignment. You want to set that to center. And then all you need to simply do is type the following: project 8.1 model miniature train. Enter, and then you'll want to type your name. Don't type your name, but type your actual name. I've had students actually type your name before, as you see it on the screen, but I need your name on your cover page. Enter, introduction to engineering design. Enter, and then we'll put Aiken High School. And then we'll hit the green check mark and hit escape. I'm still in the note tool, so don't click anywhere until you hit escape a couple times. And so that's how you create the sheet for the train body, how you add all the dimensions, how you add the center lines, how you add a new sheet for the other parts, and also how you create the cover page. I would highly recommend that you create your cover page last, simply because you'll need to delete the title block. And if you create the cover page first, when you create it, insert a new sheet, it may create a sheet without the title block in it. So you want to create all your the sheets for your parts first, then create your cover page last.